Welcome to Conversations That Heal. I'm Dr. Stephanie Jeffries. This is a space where we talk honestly about trauma, healing, growth, and finding the courage to become who you really are. Because I believe that healing happens one conversation at a time. Welcome to Conversations That Heal. Today, we are talking about the power and the beauty of you with Dr. Monica Sines. Hi, Monica. How are you?
I'm well. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Where are you currently in your healing journey?
If anyone could say that there are sides to healing, I'm definitely on the side that allows me to just be my authentic self. It just allows me to be free creatively, and anything that I ever thought about myself in regards to society or judgment or shame, that's something that I don't even feel. I have a really strong sense of peace where I'm at in this place, and I value that immensely.
Your name is Dr. Monica Sines, but you go by you in the creative world. What does that name represent to you?
When I was little, my dad used to call me Money, or I would have friends that call me Money. It's money backwards. People are multifaceted. I don't know why people look at people as they're just either good or bad or indifferent. People are many things. I utilize Yonomi as my author name because it was a way for me to show an extension of myself and how I felt about my healing journey specifically.
You describe yourself as someone who wants to heal the world one heart at a time. Where does that desire come from?
As a veteran, as a pharmacist, I see a lot of people that deal with different ailments, and I talk to a lot of people on a regular basis. And everyone is always going through something, no matter what it is, even if it's small or it's larger in scale. People are always going through something. People healing their heart one situation at a time, or me trying to heal someone's heart. It's a way for me to show my love to other people because I see who they are versus them just walking through the world aimlessly like some do.
Everybody in the world wants to be seen, wants to be heard, wants to be valued. But more than anything, people want to be seen for who they are and not who they have to pretend to be. There's a beauty about being able to see beyond the facade. You have a pretty unique life. As a veteran, as a pharmacist, and as an author, how have those things in your life shaped the way healing?
Being a pharmacist is mostly patient focused, patient driven, trying to make sure the patient is okay and everything is good for them. As a veteran, you kind of follow suit. You do what you're told. It's a really controlled environment for the most part. Even when you're in leadership, you're still in a controlled environment because people are delegating what you need to do on a day-to-day basis. Because I came from essentially military, like war time, then to helping people, and then in a creative space, it's essentially like I was in survival mode. I had to adapt to survival mode and find a way to survive through that part. And now I'm in a place to where I can just be who I am and be okay with that.
We don't realize, but we naturally adapt to who we have to be in order to survive. The scary part about that is that when it's time to come out of survival mode, we don't know how because we've been in survival mode so long. Then when you get the freedom of expression, you realize there's so many things you haven't healed from because you've been in survival mode. There's so many things that you haven't naturally dealt with because you've been in survival mode. I think as an author and even as an artist, because you're a singer as well, that takes your creativity to a whole nother level because you finally get to unleash all the things that you've been holding on to knowingly and unknowingly. There's a beautiful freedom that comes with that. All of who you are and all you have experienced goes into your book. The title of your book is Healing My Heart in Hopes It Heals Yours. Your book touches on topics many people avoid. In this state, why were you enough to write?
I'm not afraid of judgment anymore. I'm not in a place where I feel like judgment is going to make me quiet down. If I feel passionate about something, I'm going to speak on it in my writing. I might even speak on it in my music. At the end of the day, people are still enduring things. And because you tuck it in or you hide it, it doesn't mean it's not there. It means that you're not in a place to where you're strong enough to deal with those things. I want to be the front runner and let people know, hey, these are real issues that happen with not not just people of a different race. These are situations that happen with everybody. I want people to be okay with, okay, I've read this, I've listened to this is how it makes me feel. Why does it make me feel that way? And actually delve deep in within themselves so they can feel a sense of freedom after they've healed and grown through it.
I put a message on Threads yesterday that said, "In a mother is oftentimes a daughter's first enemy." There were some people that disagreed. One lady was very negative, and I told her, "Your difference in opinion doesn't make my statement invalid." I'm not saying that it's everybody, because the same way an unhealed mom can be a daughter first enemy, a healed mom can be a daughter's best friend. Within your book, you talk about trauma within families and personal relationships. Why do you think these topics are often avoided?
When I grew up, a lot of the thought process and the mindset was what happens in the house stays in the house. What happens with the family stays with the family. And I think that is a terrible mindset for people to have, because there's so many things that go on in families that families don't even talk about. You have families that are split. One side of the family don't like the other side of the family because of gossip or rumors or situations that happen, and a person was genuinely trying to get assistance or help, and you're not helping them because you'd rather prey on them. In a sense, I think those topics need to be discussed, because speaking from what you posted on Threads, if your mother is the example for how you're supposed to be and the behavior that you're supposed to have growing up, if she's not displaying positive behavior, regardless of whatever situation, because no one is perfect, people still have things that they deal with, that determines whether or not she's going to be your first enemy. And you're going to demonstrate also and carry on that behavior to other people thinking that it's normal, and it's not.
The trauma within families, the pain that happens behind what happens in this house stays in this house, or what happens in this family stays in this family. There is a lot of damage that has been done behind closed doors that people don't talk about. And I think one of the saddest things in the world is watching someone suffer, waiting for someone to die so that they can finally tell their story.
Yeah.
You can have a story of molestation, and a child won't tell the story until the mother dies, so no one will talk about the mom. I can only speak for the Black community. I've been Black my whole life. I was born in 77. So back in the 80s and the 90s, victim blaming was the name of the game. Little girls were too fast. No, a grown man shouldn't be attracted to a little girl.
Yeah.
My grandmother had a rule. I could wear shorts, but you had to put clothes on, right? I don't ever remember there being a time at my grandmother's house where she said, so and so is coming, so you got to go put some clothes on. You know what I'm saying? But there's a lot of that happens. Go put clothes, because you know so and so coming over here. And people have made excuses for behavior usable. So I think for you to be able to write about that is healing. It is bold. It frees people that they can share their stories and be okay, because at the end of the day, you can tell your story and not tell someone else's story. And it could be a space for healing, for transformation, for all of those things. But we don't understand that's a possibility, because most of us, we grew up worried about our parents looking bad, our grandparents looking bad, on that church. And I grew up in a small town in New Smyrna Beach. And when I tell you nobody should have cared what the people at the church thought, because the people at the church was doing more than the people in the street, nobody should have cared what the people at the church thought.
What you say. I think it's really important that people just take accountability for what they've endured in their life. And a lot of the time, looking good for other people, that it causes damage. Trying to portray yourself in a perfect light causes damage, just in general. If you haven't dealt with certain issues, it does.
Yes. And so when you mentioned everybody should take accountability for your own journey, what did that process look like for you?
It was messy. It was ugly, to be honest with you. I cried. I yelled. I screamed in my car, still trying to get myself together, going to work. It took time. It definitely wasn't easy. I was mad. I'm not necessarily an internalizer, but I can deal with my emotions and not push them on other people or not treat other people bad. And I think that's a trait that I learned over time, and I value that immensely about myself. I had to come to terms with the fact that I went through experiences. These experiences are not who I am. Yes, they may have happened, but that doesn't determine my future. That doesn't determine the type of person that I am or I want to become. And nobody gets to say who I am or how I should be viewed other than myself. And if somebody says something negative towards me, I have to check in with myself to be like, is that me? No, that ain't me. So I'm not going to deal with that. I'm not going to accept that projection that somebody's giving. I'm not doing that.
Childhood traumas play such a huge role in who we become. How do you feel the things that you went through in your childhood shaped you?
That's an amazing question. I think it was a large determining factor of who I become. Even in my book, I mentioned about being around my dad mostly more so than my mom, and then a sudden shift of that. You take on the characteristics of your parents, whether you want to or not, whether good or bad, you take them on. And I had to learn eventually that I can take this and I can take that, and I don't want that. And I want this, but I don't want that. You can make that decision for yourself. And I think that's the beauty of free will and being able to make that decision for yourself. But if you are so consumed with how people view you, you lose sight of that level of individuality.
Because a large part of who many adults become is shaped
Mhm.
by the things that they experience in childhood, whether they know it or not. And looking in the mirror, I realized that my lack of love in my childhood by my mom, because my grandmother was in there full stop. But there's still
Mhm.
something about that love from a parent that you need that leaves a void no matter who else pours
Mhm.
it, right? And it's funny now looking back, I can realize that the love of a parent will have you searching for love that only a
Mm.
parent can feel.
Yeah.
But I was looking for it for so long in relationships and friendships and other people's parents. Once I got to the other side and I was able to acknowledge that, I realized that the only thing that could fill that void at this point was prayer, healing, and finding my way back to me. When you talk about you take on characteristics of your parents, I realized I had a grandmother. So at a certain age, you have to figure out how to reparent yourself.
Yeah.
When I was a teenager, my grandma was in her 70s. So my grandmother was decades removed from the things I would experience. I've taken on a lot of her characteristics as far as love and care and concern and taking care of my family. But I've also taken on the negative characteristics of being strong for everybody, showing up for people even when I don't feel like it,
Yeah.
putting myself as prioritizing everybody. That is shown as this valor and this moment of praise when really it's just exhaustion dressed up as strength.
Yes, it's doing yourself a disservice for people pleasing to make other people happy. For me, on my healing journey, I had to learn to give myself what I was missing or what I was yearning for. I'm not waiting for nobody to give me anything. You mentioned that to me, and that really touched me when you said it because that's what I had to do. It was the most freeing thing ever. Once I started doing that for myself, once I started giving myself the love that I deserved, it started to change my environment. And then it started to actually come to me as well, because that was the energy that I was putting out into the world. It was freeing for me and it was lovely. And I just want everybody to experience that.
People don't realize pain lives in your body because your body keeps a score. What people think is neck pains or back pains or hip pain. It's not necessarily that. It is that your nervous system is on high alert and your body is keeping score of the different traumas and the things because we get a heartbreak and move on. People get molested or raped and move on. And you never really get to the bottom of it. But your body now is tracking all the things that you've been through that you have not explored, that you have not resolved for yourself. So, how did you begin to recognize that your body was keeping score?
I realized when I was people pleasing, and I'll be very transparent with that, I didn't speak up for myself. I used to sing all the time and I would get self conscious about it. And I'm like, I don't know why I would get self conscious about it. I'm not trying to be like anybody else. I'm who I am. But with my marriage, there were things that I would let slide that really bothered me. Resentment would build up. I would start having back pains. My throat would start hurting. I would sound like I got allergies all the time and I don't. It was just a lot of stuff. Then you start doing yourself a disservice. You start doing things that you don't want to do, letting people take your time when you really don't want to do stuff that refer into back pain or knee pain. I just had to take accountability of, okay, I'm doing this. And I had to set boundaries. And I think once I started setting boundaries, that also helped me get to the point where it's okay for me to not do something for somebody if I don't want to do it. I don't have to do anything I don't want to do. Everybody in this world is grown and they make the decisions best for themselves. I don't have to save anybody but myself.
Brene Brown is one of my favorite authors. One of the
Mhm.
things that is that she learned that she rather take the discomfort of a no in the
Mm,
moment, the excitement of a yes later. And it was talking about shame and how people will shame you into feeling like you have to do something for them. Sometimes we don't want to sit with the discomfort of a no because we feel like we've let people down. But it's something about the moment you stop self-abandoning. It's freeing. The moment that you begin to forgive yourself and you begin to truly give yourself the love that you need. What did that moment feel like?
I'm gonna relate it to the military because that's the first thing that comes to my mind. In the military, you have to go on these 12-mile route marches and you have to carry up to about 45 pounds on your back for 12 months. Imagine having so much weight on you for so long. And then in the moment, by just releasing emotions and just forgiving yourself from your past, all of that weight lifted off of your shoulders. And you realize that this is not my weight to bear anymore. And I don't have to take it. And I don't have to hold it. I don't got to keep this pain. I don't got to keep this hurt. It's okay that I made these mistakes. I'm going to let it go. And you let it go. You get scared. You're like, what am I going to do next? It's not about them or helping others when it comes to you having pain or somebody doing a disservice to you. It's about how can I help myself and help others get to the space that I'm in, because now I feel so free and I just want everybody to feel that way.
One of the beautiful things about healing and learning to love yourself is that in moments where I felt behind or lost or forgotten by God, those were my hidden seasons. My prayer now is, Lord, hide me until you remove the need to be needed from me, because I have boundaries, but I still realize there's a lingering need to be needed. I show up with the nails, the screws, the wood, the workmen. I show up with all of it because I so desperately want to be what I needed. That in this season is being revealed to me that I've carried weight, like you said, that was never mine to carry. Am I authentic? Yes. Is my heart in the right place? Yes, but it was never mine to carry. The freedom that you talk about now, I'm retired from the military, so that's a perfect analogy. You don't realize how heavy something is until you put it down. You know that you have 12 miles to go. You're counting every mile. The issue is carrying things that don't belong to us. We don't know how far we have to go. We don't realize that we've been carrying it so long. There's probably some things you've experienced that you've been carrying since childhood. And what people don't understand is when you're someone that is carrying a weight that is stemmed from childhood, this broken friendship has added another weight. This failed relationship has added another weight. You betrayed me in the smallest way. This is added another way. And it is layering to the point where you have a cape on that was meant to protect you, but it's taken on so much weight that you're dying under the weight of it. The beauty of who you are in this podcast and what we desire to do is to help people see that you do not have to do that, because you have to figure out how to shoulder the things that belong to you and let other people figure out how to shoulder the things that belong to them. The freedom behind your creativity and the way that you get to express yourself is no longer bound by other people's expectations. How has that understanding shaped your view of others?
I put it into the perspective of, as a pharmacist working in a community, people are sick and people need help. There are so many barriers of, I need this, but I can't get it because of this reason. They'll come up to me at the front counter because I'm the only face that they see working overnight, and they're angry and they're yelling at me or they'll cuss at me. They'll try to say anything brash or rude that they think will hurt my feelings, but it's literally just a projection of how they see themselves in my mind. So I help them with a smile. And at the end of the day, most people apologize. If they're too caught in their ego, they won't apologize, and that's okay. But I know for myself to not take it personally because it doesn't have anything to do with me. I'm just a person that they see. And when people are hurt, sometimes the people that are closest to them are the ones that get the scars and get the damage. And then they start carrying the weight that we talked about previously. When a person is hurting or a person is dealing with something, they're just going to put that hurt onto other people. Some people don't even know that they do it, which is interesting to me. But hurt people are always going to hurt people if they don't deal with the hurt within themselves. Whether they want to hurt people or not, they're going to, unfortunately.
How do you think a person that they've been a hurt person and they're hurting people, and now they begin to recognize that they are hurting people unintentionally, what steps would you tell them they need to take to begin to change that?
I think recognizing that they're doing it is really important. I think once you recognize it, you have to give people grace because people are going to respond to the behavior that you treated them with. There's no time limit on people healing, honestly. If you've done something continuously to a person and they treat you a certain way based on the treatment that you've given them, you can't be mad at how they respond to you based on you trying to change your behavior because they're used to a specific behavior that you displayed. I say offer yourself grace and forgive yourself for that and forgive them for not trusting the new you because of the you that you were displaying. I would then say find out why you felt like it was okay to do that or why you felt like that was a mechanism for you to utilize as a coping to go through the world. I think once a person gets an understanding of that, forgives themselves, don't feel shame, don't feel guilt about it because you did it, but grow through that version of yourself because people are shifting timelines and shifting to different individuals within themselves every single day. Every day you wake up, you have the opportunity to be a better version of yourself. That's why God blesses you to wake up every day.
Yes.
So I would just tell them to utilize that as a tool to just be the best version of themselves every day. It's not a race. It's not about who's doing better. It's really not about cars and stuff. All this competition and comparison, that has nothing to do with an individual trying to be the best version of themselves internally on a day-to-day basis. And that's what's beautiful about being here on earth.
When you talk about it not being a race and you have to give yourself grace, I think one of the things making people pretend or rush through the healing process is social media. Real self-love is different than what people show on social media.
Yeah.
What do you think real self-love looks like beyond social media?
I think everything that is visual is a very minuscule version of self-love. I think a person going through a hard time and being able to hold themselves up through that, I think that's what self-love is. That's a portion of what it is. I think when you are happy with yourself and sometimes you're in a space or an environment where you can't tell your good news to people because they'll put doubt on you or whatever, I think you keeping that to yourself and not having to tell everybody and you just showing them by action, I think that is self-love. I think setting boundaries is self-love. I think not tolerating people's crap is definitely self-love. I think not working at a job that doesn't really care about you for many years and all they give you is a plaque when you leave that's not self-love. You leaving a job that has not treated you well and has treated you like you are a burden, I think that's self-love. Just taking the time to just sit with yourself and be okay with that, I think that's a version of self-love.
That is very different than social media. I've created Choosing Me, and it's just a year of self-love and giving love to yourself. I think self-love is understanding you have boundaries. Self-love is not always outward either. Self-love is often you getting in the shower and actually taking your time to remember how precious your body is, your skin is, you are, and just taking your time to smell the soap and then taking the time to lotion your body down instead of rushing, getting up early, sitting somewhere and rubbing your feet together and having tea or whatever it is that you like. I think that is self-love. People have made other people feel like they're not healing because they're not out spending money. You don't love yourself because you ain't out here buying Gucci bags and Louis Vuitton when that is not what it is. Those things are going to lose value. But the time and the effort and the energy that you put into yourself to make yourself seen, to make yourself feel heard, to make yourself feel loved, that will never lose value. And that is the part that social media does not show.
Yes, 100%. Just going for a walk.
There's somebody watching this podcast right now and I'm going to give you 3 little self-love things. Maybe you're someone who never had pajamas when you were growing up. Going to Walmart or Family Dollar and getting you some super soft pajamas is a form of self-love. It is not the big things. You sitting and writing yourself a letter at the end of the day, telling yourself that I love you for everything you accomplished today when you didn't feel like getting out of the bed, when all you wanted to do was cry and you felt like the world was stacked against you and you showed up for you. You writing yourself a letter for that is self-love. Do not let the world paint this picture that self-love is Bentleys and big dinners when there's simple ways that you can love yourself and give yourself everything that you want. You found a balance, you discovered peace and creativity. What does that feel like? for you?
I'm gonna first say in the beginning, it was scary getting to that point, honestly. But being in it, everything just works. Everything I do, I want to be a reflection of my true self. I feel like once I found this peace, I built a stronger relationship with God. I don't think God wants me to be perfect, or He wouldn't have made me flawed in a sense. I'm not saying that I'm flawed. I'm saying that I'm different, but I'm flawed to society when it comes to certain stuff. It's okay to be creative, because that's what I think being fruitful and multiply means. Be creative and show that reflection of who you are in essence. Being in this sense of peace feels great. It feels good. I don't have no shame. I don't have no judgment. If somebody feels indifferent about me, that's how they feel. That doesn't have nothing to do with me. And I'm okay
Right.
with it.
There's a beautiful thing about feeling peace, because there was a time in your life where you didn't feel like you would even feel this peace. There's a time in your life where you felt like it would always be chaotic. Now that you walk and you relish in this peace you have found, maybe you haven't found it by a means that everyone else thinks you should, but it's okay to be orthodox in your approach to your peace. The peace that you have is authentically you, and
Yeah.
you have been intentionally authentic. That peace doesn't have to make sense. And listen, Monica, you wear your peace so well that it is almost an invitation for other people to discover what their peace looks like. Whatever happens, wherever life takes you, don't allow anyone to interpret how your peace should look for you.
I received that. Thank you. I love that for everyone else too.
I remember saying to one of my friends one time, this peace I feel, I never thought I'd feel this peace. Joy that runs deep in my heart, in my soul. Do I hurt? Absolutely. Do I grieve? Absolutely. Once you realize that this peace and this joy and this happiness, that only God can give you this, in spite of what it looks like, that is what's been the biggest thing for me. Right? Listen, I want everybody to get a piece of their own type of peace. Once you get a fraction of it, then your heart will begin to see, wait, I can have this. You begin to desire more. It is when you give yourself a little bit of freedom, you realize, wait a minute, I could have more freedom if I just keep going. And now I get a chance to examine that.
It is attainable, very attainable.
In your opinion, for someone who feels stuck in the pain of the past and they do not see a way out, how would you slowly invite them to find peace for themselves?
I would lovingly challenge their mindset. I felt stuck before, and I had to realize I'm not stuck, because I can create my way out of anything. I was stuck at a job that treated me like I was a burden. I'm not stuck. I can get another job. I'm not stuck in this relationship. If I want to leave this relationship or go somewhere, I'm not afraid to move or start over, because that's the freedom of having self-will. Nobody has anybody stuck. No situation that they're in. You're not stuck. I felt some type of way indifferent about my weight at one point in my life. I have to make changes. I have to do action. You can't keep doing the same thing and expecting different results. You have to do different things to get those different results, and you can do them.
Someone listening to your story and understand they can change things, what is one thing you would want them to get from your story you wish someone would have told you?
You are going to have experiences in life. The world is going to look down on you for those experiences, because for some reason we group people together. You are not your experiences. That is a moment in time that happened, and that is not who you are or who you have to be. So I would say, let that be that moment in time. Take what you learned from it, whether it be good or bad, and create an environment that you want to live in, because you have the power to do that. Nobody can tell you what you can and cannot do. You can create the life and world that you want to be in, regardless of how people feel about it. And you don't have to stay there. Offer yourself grace. Take accountability for what you've done. Tell yourself, I love you in the mirror every time you wake up and look at it. And eventually your mindset will change, and you'll see yourself and the world around you with loving eyes. And that's what the world you live in will be.
I like it. You do a lot of amazing things. You are a pharmacist, you are a veteran, you are an author, and you are a singer. I had had the pleasure of hearing one of your amazing songs. For anyone that wants to connect with you or buy a book or hear your music, where can they go?
Music wise, I'm on all social platforms, iTunes. I go by the artist name Mystic Pearl 26. That's MYSTIQUE_PE
Okay. And your books are?
I go by the artist name Yenomii. That's YENOMMI.
It has been my pleasure to interview you. We've connected from the first conversation we had. I feel like we know each other. I'm grateful for the opportunity to have you on this platform to share the amazing things that peace provide and understanding that it's never how you start, it's how you finish.
Yeah.
And that for me is profound. So thank you for joining me. Sincerely appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. All right, let's go to God in prayer. Heavenly and gracious Father, thank you, God, for the opportunity to come into your presence. God, before I ask you for anything, I say thank you. I say thank you for this opportunity. I thank you for the peace that is felt even during this interview, God. I thank you for the restoration that has happened. I thank you for the reparenting. I thank you for the healing, God. I thank you for the boldness to come before you and understand, God, that you can do all things. Heavenly Father, as always, God, I ask and pray that the person that hears this when they need it the most, God, the moment when they're ready to change and they're ready to shift and they're ready to move into a new direction, God, with the understanding that it does not have to be large steps, God, because you honor small steps. You honor the minute details, God. You honor it all, and we thank you for it now. In your darling son, Jesus' name, amen. Amen. I would like to thank you all for joining us for another episode of Conversations That Heal. I'm Dr. Stephanie Jeffries, and I believe that healing happens one conversation at a time. Have a great day.